right now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for everyone who joined us live. So here, once you set up get the
Okay.
YouTube live link,
Yep.
send it in there, and then I'm gonna post it on my Instagram, and then your mic is on because I think were you gonna read the
Yeah.
questions off too?
Yep. Yep. Let's see.
I can even put them in. I can put questions in the chat too. But
Okay.
some of them need explanation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Link
I can even
incoming.
put them in. I can put questions in the chat too. But
Okay.
some of them need explanation.
I'm just gonna drop it
Mhm.
in the All right, dip link
I
catcher
can
Telegram.
even put them in. I can put questions in the
Does
chat.
that work?
Okay.
Some of them need
So I will
explanation.
quickly
I'm just gonna drop it in the dip catcher Telegram.
my
I can put
Instagram
questions.
Does that work?
bio. Okay.
Some of them need
So I will
explanation.
quickly
I'm just gonna drop it in the dip catcher Telegram.
my Instagram
Does that work?
bio, and then I will paste it in
I'm just gonna drop it in
a
the dip catcher
message.
Telegram.
My Instagram
Does that work?
bio, and then paste it in
I'm just gonna drop it in
a
the
message.
dip
Paste
catcher.
it there. All right. And then paste it there. There we go. Okay. So we're on live, and
Yep.
sounds good. So there we go.
Yep.
Okay.
We are
So
rolling.
we're on live, and can we hear you?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So there we go. On the YouTube live, we're on live, and can we hear you?
Yep. 1 second.
Sounds
here.
good.
Yep.
So there we go. On the YouTube live, go ahead and say something. I'm gonna
1 second.
sounds
here.
good. See if I can hear
Yep.
you
Yeah, listen on my. Tell me that's a good.
on the YouTube live.
Let me know
Go ahead
if you can hear
say
it.
something. I'm gonna
Uh,
see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, listen on my. Tell me that's a good.
On the YouTube live?
Let me know.
Go ahead
Can you hear me?
say something. I'm gonna.
Okay,
don't say anything now.
Can you hear me? Yeah, listen on my. Tell me that's a good.
On the YouTube live.
Let me know.
Go ahead
Can you hear me?
say something. I'm gonna.
Okay,
don't say anything now.
Can you hear me? Yeah, listen on my. Tell me. Don't say anything. Let me know.
Go ahead. Okay, I have no idea if I can actually hear you or not, or if it's my echo. So,
You guys are live. You're good. You're live.
Awesome.
all right.
And you want to record?
Yeah. So, do you want me to record, or Daniel, are you recording?
I just hit record.
Awesome. Cool. So we're live on the Zoom and then live on YouTube. So thanks everyone for joining us. Another episode of Dipcatcher Radio. We've been covering some really awesome topics lately on all different areas of cryptocurrency. And so today we didn't really come in with the topic, but a lot of good questions have kind of trickled in throughout the weeks. So we're just going to kind of do a general Q&A with some questions that the people have asked us over the last couple of days, but also just like at any time for anyone who's who's live on the call right now, feel free to put questions in the chat, or even just chime in if you have something to add, or if you have a question. And if you're watching on YouTube live, go ahead and put in questions in the chat. We'll keep an eye out on those and try to cover those. Yeah, so we'll try to get through as many topics as we can. Maybe we won't stay on for too long because I'm streaming live from Oakland. It's pretty smoky out, and my voice might get tired. So we may not have one of our marathon like 3 or 4 hour calls tonight, but we'll try to cover a lot of good topics.
Yes.
So yeah. How should we start this? Maybe Daniel, you asked a couple of questions, in our chat. Is there? Maybe you can just serve one up, and then we can just start churning through.
Let's see here. Sorry, I'm still sort of coordinating. Yeah, so I want to know a little bit more about the broader crypto market. So we've talked a lot about Hex. We've talked a lot about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stuff that's been on the Ethereum blockchain. Can you talk a little bit about the other networks? So there's Litecoin, I believe there's Tron, and correct me if these aren't. But I want to know a little bit more about your thoughts on the overall broader market. Do you use these networks? And if so, why? Why not? And just if you could kind of go into like the broad overview, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. So So in terms of like, kind of what's going on generally, a lot like, a lot of the like financial innovation, that's all going on in the Ethereum ecosystem. So things like, that we've been talking about, like with, Uniswap, that's like, a way to trade cryptos without having to like trust a third party with holding your funds. And there's a lot of the smart contracts like Hex, where Hex is, it emulates a traditional financial product, but it operates on the blockchain. And also even a lot of innovation in monetary policy of coins, like some of these coins that we talked about, like the rebase, where like, as price goes up, your balance multiplies, and then it forces price down. And when price goes down too far, your price dwindles. And so, just a lot of different monetary policy experiments. All that's happening on Ethereum. But Ethereum's not the only blockchain that you could run smart contracts on. For instance, I think the one that you'd mentioned, Tron. I'm not exactly sure because I've never used anything in the Tron network. Mainly things that are in Tron are mainly centered around kind of like these like pyramid style games. So it's kind of more like a gambling platform, if anything. And so just none of the use cases there are any of the things that I just do. So I've never been brought into Tron for anything. But like smart contracts can operate on on not any type of blockchain, but blockchains that are meant to be platforms for smart contracts. So that examples of that would be like Tron, EOS, I think Stellar, I don't know, like some of these random ones. But what's like the reason why I don't really I don't see things that like on the horizon that are like coming out of those that are going to be like, really important, like some of the things that are running on Ethereum are, is because what makes the smart contracts and just like the general financial ecosystem that's being built up in Ethereum, those network effects are pretty powerful. And those other platforms just don't have them, so like Ethereum kind of came out first, and then Tron and EOS and some of these other ones kind of followed after. And, they call themselves like the Ethereum killer, or, they're trying to do things like, with Ethereum, solving various technical problems and, all kinds of hoopla that, these chains are trying to do. But what Ethereum really has going for it is just the economic mass. It's the, like the second largest cryptocurrency, after Bitcoin. And like with that economic mass and just like that network effect, that just gives a lot more energy for financial innovation to happen. Like you can't really have financial innovation going on if there's no money at stake. And right now there's just not really much money at stake inside like the EOS or like the Tron ecosystems. So that's why you've seen a lot of the innovation happen over in Ethereum. That's probably why Ethereum is probably more important to pay attention to, because these network effects are like, they're a real thing and they can be strong. And so while there can be like, big appreciation from something, going from like 0 to 100, but it's just more likely to happen. You'll just see these good opportunities more often in the Ethereum ecosystem, because like in order to transfer from, one coin that people have billions of dollars into like a new coin and all that money coming in and pushing the price up, it needs to be like interoperable. Like it needs, like your coin needs to be like one swap away from the other coin. And since like all the like major like ERC20 coins that trade, they're all trading on Ethereum, just like it's just like one less barrier of entry for money to be coming in to be able to appreciate the value of some other coin. So just like financial product like coins, those are going to be, more successful on Ethereum because that's where just all the capital is. And so, Ethereum definitely kind of cleans up, as far as like, like the smart contract platform ecosystem goes, kind of like how Bitcoin really cleans up in the like fixed supply money category, which Litecoin is one. Like you said, the Litecoin, where like Litecoin is very similar to Bitcoin, has some parameter differences and just some differences, but nothing material.
Litecoin was forked off Bitcoin, right? Am I correct on that?
So pretty much. I don't know if it was like a fork, how Bitcoin Cash was a fork, but it might have been more like a clone, or like they took elements of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Whereas like a fork like Bitcoin Cash, like they forked the code and they forked the chain. I don't think I could be wrong. I mean, I just may not know enough about the history of Litecoin. But I don't think that they'd forked the Bitcoin like supply or the chain. So, but I know that, you know, it's a proof of work blockchain. I think it has faster blocks. And they'd meant for it to be kind of like silver to Bitcoin's gold. But other things I think have since emerged that are more like silver, like Ethereum. You know, where like gold was like the coin that was held, you know, on reserve by the kings, and then the kings would issue like a silver coin. Like, you know, Bitcoin was kind of like the gold, but now I think Ethereum is kind of more like the silver, because like it's like Ethereum's use as like currency or as like financial rails, that's just like much more effective than Litecoin. So, you know, kind of for this, you know, for the same reasons, I don't really pay much attention to like Tron and EOS. I don't really pay attention to Litecoin. Doesn't mean it can't pump. Doesn't mean it won't pump. But, you know, it could go up, but, you know, it's probably not going to be in the top quartile of things that go up. And so, you know, those are the things we're really looking for. So I just, you know, don't really pay much attention to those ones. And I don't own any of those coins.
Okay. Awesome. Can we linger here for just a second on the smart contracts? I think Naja was curious about what they are. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about smart contracts, like what purpose they serve, and just all kind of go deep into that.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. It's something that, you know, there's always new innovation going on. So it's, you know, even if like, you know, kind of once you know what it is, like there's always new things to learn about it, because this is an area that's being rapidly developed. But pretty much what smart contracts are is it's just an app that runs on a blockchain that interacts with your money. And so, you know, like Hex is a good example of a smart contract, where if you have Hex coins, you can interact with the Hex smart contract. And what the Hex smart contract does is it locks your coins for a set period of time. And then when that time ends, the smart contract unlocks your coins and gives you a certain percent interest that the smart contract calculates, you know, by looking at how long you staked relative to everybody else. And so like that Hex, I think, is a good example of like a simple smart contract, where it's pretty much where people can, you know, code up rules that the like cryptocurrency operates under. And then it can, like, you know, and it can have certain like financial features, or, you know, like the Hex example is just one of them. Another example of a smart contract that's not specific to any one coin, like Hex is specific to the Hex coin. But a smart contract, another example is Uniswap, which is, I think Naji even asked about Uniswap just a couple moments ago on the call. Uniswap it's a smart contract for trading to cryptocurrencies, where you know, you and somebody else enter, or you and what's called a liquidity pool. You enter in a contract to swap whatever amount of coins that you have with whatever amount the price ratio gives you for the coins that they have, and then you just swap them. Like, and so you don't have to like deposit your coins on a Coinbase to trade. You can just enter in a smart contract where in a single like block, in a single transaction, you simultaneously send away your Ethereum and you receive the Hex. And so, you know, Uniswap itself, like, you know, it's an exchange. Like, you know, you go to app.uniswap.exchange or whatever to go to the Uniswap, you know, exchange website. But what Uniswap itself is a smart contract. And what's really beneficial about smart contracts is that you can go in and just read the code. So let me share my screen now, and let's actually take a look at the Uniswap. We'll take a look. This is a great question. We'll go ahead and look at the Uniswap contract, and we can actually, you know, Uniswap. So Etherscan. So let's pull it up. So like part of like the value of smart contracts and like doing financial procedures with smart contracts is that you don't have to like rely on anybody to actually like do what they say they will. Everything that is in the code is what's going to run. So if there's a bug in the code, there's going to be a bug in your financial transaction. So security is really important, and like stability of the code is really important. And so that's part of why, like in order for people to run smart contracts, they need to be public, because people need to have the opportunity to be able to audit it for themselves, or else they just won't trust it. So if we go to, let's see if we can find the Uniswap contract.
And smart contracts are essentially what enable decentralization then, right? It enables it sort of stands in for the centralized party, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Like rather than sending, like, okay, so say you have Hex that you want to sell, and I have Ethereum that I want to buy Hex with. Like, you would have to send your money into the exchange. I would have to send my money to the exchange, and then from our account inside the exchange, we would then trade. And then we would have to withdraw the money from the exchange to our own wallets so that we're in control. So during that whole period of time, you could lose your funds. Like someone could hack into the exchange and make, when you go to set up a withdrawal wallet, they could swap in an address, like the hacker's address. So you copy and paste the address from your wallet or from the exchange, what they give you when you try to withdraw, but it just might go to the hacker. Like who knows what, that, I'm not saying that has happened or will, or is likely to happen, but that could happen. And so, there's just like a lot of risk. There's counterparty risk there, where Coinbase might lose your money. And so instead of the trading happening with the third party custodian, the trading happens through a smart contract. And so that you don't have to rely on a person to do, like it'll operate without human intervention. And so that's why, it's generally like, you feel more confident in it. I think that's part of what's caused this really big DeFi bull run that we've seen, is just kind of like the confidence that people have in it, because like there's no barriers to it. Because like, other than just like holding your money in your possession throughout the whole duration of the transaction, you don't even have to have an account. And so that's like a big barrier, like when you go to Coinbase, you have to give them your driver's license, you have to give them your bank account information, like all this stuff. Like, you may not like that you have to disclose that, but with things like Uniswap, you can trade with anyone worldwide and you don't even have to disclose that information. So it's also like, it just feels more secure, where like it reduces the chance for you to like lose your money because like of a third party. Now, like if you lose your money, it's probably because you made a bad trade, or now it's because, now there are other ways that people might try to, take your money. So, like a common thing is, but by creating kind of phony projects that like emulate legitimate projects, and then get a bunch of people to like try to invest in like, oh, this is the next Hex, Hex 2X, come buy our bags, and they'll, just like get you to voluntarily go and like trade their money, and then they can run off with it and then not deliver on what they, tricked you into doing. And so, it's just a different risk profile, but it eliminates a major risk, which was like that third party counterparty risk. And that's because, like, instead of trusting them, like you can't audit Coinbase's code. That's trade secret. Like you can't request that Coinbase give you access to their code repository. But like if we go to uniswap.exchange, let me see how do we go to the main Uniswap Yeah, uniswap.org. I bet in here they have a GitHub link. Yep. And so everything that runs on Uniswap is public. And Coinbase would not make this public. And so even if you yourself aren't auditing it, what I kind of rely on is, and this is part of why it's good to go where there's a lot of money at stake, is because people that have a lot more money at stake than you, they're auditing this. Because if we're only trading with a couple $1,000, we don't really have that much to lose here. And so that means that we don't have a lot of resources to be able to apply to this problem of auditing this code, making sure it works. But people that have hundreds of millions of dollars, some of these mega whales, who are really people that are involved in the creation of this stuff, and they're real, you don't get that much crypto without really being into it. They're you can kind of use that as a proxy for how much it's like a vote of confidence. If all these people that have tens of millions of dollars at stake are relying on this mission critical software to run these financial contracts, then that is at least some evidence that this can be trusted by you. It's not you can never be certain because sometimes bugs can't be tested for, or certain scenarios are just different or outside the scope of what the testing that people have done so far caught. But because it's public, you just have a lot more eyes on it. And so that can generally lend to its safety or credibility. But even smart contracts, there are some famous examples of smart contracts in the past that they failed because the developer just shipped, there's a bug in the code and locked up all the funds. No one stole them, but just all the funds were locked. I think something similar to like that happened with Yam. So that can lend to its and I think the original one was called what was it? No, not MakerDAO. I don't know. One of these early. It was an early thing, and then what happens is people might write a smart contract, has a bug, locks a bunch of funds. Now people know that to watch out for this type of issue you could have, and then you don't see that issue anymore. So it's kind of like a not every water buffalo makes it across the river type of thing. And so some of those early water buffaloes, they got caught by the crocodiles, or maybe they just got stuck in the mud. And so, that because Ethereum has, now, about 5 or 6 years of track record of development in this ecosystem. By now, a lot of that risk that's involved with code bugs, or just software design bugs or vulnerabilities, a lot of those potential issues have been caught and audited out. So I think, going into the next couple of years, these platforms are going to become even more and more secure and more reliable, because all different types of things might be caught, and sometimes you might be one of the water buffalo that's maybe one of these smart contracts that we all rely on fails, and we may be in some type of we may be that water buffalo one day, but that's the importance of being able to be diversified in other if a smart contract, say we're using a lending smart contract, and we're you don't want to put all your money into one thing, or you don't want to store all your money in one place, or use all your money to be doing one thing. And so say we're using a lending smart contract and then that fails and we lose the funds there, maybe we'll have a loss there, but it won't touch our Bitcoin. It won't touch our staked hex. It won't touch our Ethereum that we store offline. And so, things are going to continue to be more reliable, but still it is the Wild West, and this is definitely uncharted territory. And so thinking about, how you allocate risk amongst different smart contracts, that's really important. And so, that's why it's just good to, just to be learning about this stuff. Yeah, great question, Nadja. Thank you so much.
I have a question for you, Brian. Oh, did I even interrupt you, Dan? Sorry. Hopefully not.
No. Go ahead.
I just saw this really interesting article today. I thought it was in Forbes.com, and it was about if millions of people put their stimulus check, the stimulus checks that's supposed to come, whatever, sometime this fall. If a second stimulus check is coming using it to buy Bitcoin could be a disaster. And then he goes on to say he's a writer, he's a crypto writer. He said, the bottom line is that Bitcoin is simply not ready for something like this. A Bitcoin writer and analyst for money advisory firm, Quantum Economics, whatever. He said, a theoretical study, what would happen if millions of Americans decided to put their checks in at once? The network is the most secure in the world, but it's nowhere near ready to handle that. It could like crash it. It could cause Bitcoin network to buckle. Brian, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, that's always been like that type of FUD kind of reappears all the time. Everyone said, that Bitcoin's not ready to scale. But the fact is that it doesn't need to scale. Like Bitcoin doesn't need to scale to serve really anybody. The thing that scales is the price in that sense. And so like, because what he's saying is that like, it can't like operate as like a currency probably is what he's suggesting, is that like it, because it has like the finite block size, and can only do a certain number of transactions per minute, that like it can't scale. But what it does scale in very easily is price. And that's how Bitcoin really scales is, it doesn't like, the ecosystem scales around it, but only as the price goes up. And so as the price goes up a lot from everybody putting in, their $1,200 stimulus checks into Bitcoin and pushing that price up, what that does is it has this like self-correcting property where it prices out certain applications of Bitcoin. Like it prices out like sending small transactions. And so now like, you don't need to, because people who are buying the $1,200 of Bitcoin with their stimulus checks, like maybe they are going to be sending like small transactions. But if everybody's buying and the price goes up so much, and when price is going up a lot, there's a lot of trading. When there's a lot of trading, the transaction fees go up. Kind of how we saw like in Ethereum, where the transaction fees were crazy. But just like as the price goes up, it just like prices out some of the smaller transactions. So then it really doesn't need to scale that much. Like, and it's not like Bitcoin is like, some like subservient thing that like needs, it needs to do this, or like, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's not really how it works. Like it operates on the rules that it has, like whether you like it or not. And also whether you can afford it or not, like if Bitcoin is so valuable that the transaction fee is too high for you to send a little bit of money, then you can't send it. And what that means is you can't sell it. And so you can't push the price down. And so the like price scaling actually takes care of a lot of the other scaling issues, because not everybody should have the right to log a permanent transaction in the Bitcoin blockchain. It's all supply and demand. And there's a limited supply of potential block size that transactions can go on. And so, at that time, Bitcoin may become so valuable that like small transactions just aren't feasible. And then for those, you can use other things like Hex or Ethereum, where the transactions are pretty small. And it still has that same type of finality to it. And finality really only matters if it's like large amounts of money at stake. If it's $5 at stake and you send it, and then somebody attacks the blockchain network and your money got like rerouted and it was gone, and you don't have it and the person you're sending it to doesn't have it either, like some weird thing like that might happen on like a less secure chain. $5, like who really cares? So it's just like, as price goes up, that's really what takes care of a lot of scaling. And that's what everyone putting in their $1,200 of Bitcoin will do. It just changes the important question. And so that's kind of, Bitcoin, like the only thing that matters is that people want it. The only thing that matters is that people demand it. And so that's pretty funny that this person who writes for Forbes, or whomever he is, or people that pay him money for his insights, that he would like suggest that a thing that the only thing that matters is how bad other people want it would fail because everybody wanted it so bad. Like, okay, like sure, like yeah. If everybody wanting Bitcoin so bad cause scaling issues, then the people that want it so bad that they have, you know, millions or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to be able to like really want it, then they're going to be the ones that get it because, you know, supply and demand. And then, you know, the people that, you know, have the smaller amounts, like, you know, maybe they can't send transactions with it. And so they'll have to find another solution. And, you know, that's just like the reality of like there not being an arbiter where it's all done through math, you know, where, you know, the miners, they count, like when they're putting forth the blocks to add to the blockchain, you know, they roll the die, guess the number. Now it's their turn to add new transactions. They filter out all the highest transaction fee transactions. And then those are the ones that they put in because that's how they get paid. And like, you know, they're not looking at you and like feeling sorry for you for like not being able to pay a $50 transaction fee. Like, you know, they're operating their business, you know, they're entrepreneurs. And like, you know, you wouldn't ask, you know, Louis Vuitton for a deal, right? And you know, so that's just kind of, you know, how it's going to play out.
I did think it was kind of interesting, Brian. Like, you know, being a bit of being a newbie, really in the field. Whether I am, you know, it caught my ear a few years ago, but you're the one who's really sort of led me in here, and to see it in Forbes, and then to see it by this person who has who's a writer for Bitcoin. It's just so funny how it spins on such a negative spin. It's fine. Don't put your $1,200 in because I'm going to go ahead and buy that Bitcoin. But it is interesting. And I see how maybe even it could even discourage someone from putting their $1,200 in. I thought this article, like, I don't know. I thought it was sort of silly and strange. What an interesting attitude.
You know, like,
FUD.
What if somebody convinced you not to buy Bitcoin and then every single one of your dollars became worthless and then you starved to death? Like, did that person kill you? Like, if, you know, really, like,
right. Yep.
You know, like, so, you know, in some ways, like people that try to not provide you this information, like they are harming you. Like they want to hurt you. Like that, you know, that's really what it, like, you know, why it's kind of dangerous to do that. But some people, you know, like, you know, obviously they can promote any message that they want and they can pay to have any message they want promoted, and they can do, you know, anything they can to try to persuade people of their worldview, because that may be his worldview, you know, or maybe it's because he's a writer and he needs to have some, like, you know, unique angle in order to kind of, like, you know, justify his, you know, thought leadership, you know, like, you know, you don't know why he may be misleading you. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is pretty, you know, it's much better to help people and like teach them how to like assess these things for themselves than it is to try to tell people like, oh, stay away because, you know, if everyone tries to buy it, it's gonna break, you know.
Like, and also, I mean, sort of unsaid is that makes it feel like Bitcoin really, I mean, obviously Bitcoin is new, right? It's different and it's new, but it makes it feel really unstable. And I don't know, it was just, I'm very sensitive to the words that are being put out there to hit new people, right? I'm very sensitive to that. I thought that was interesting.
But the good thing about it is that that's opportunity. So every person that's not in there buying, every person that like maybe would have bought or has the dollars to buy with, that article kind of, you know, misled, you know, now that's yours for the taking. And
that's exactly what I thought too. But I want to help them, like you, Brian.
Yeah, it's, you know, but you can't help everybody. You know, you can try, but yeah, I mean, you know, there's definitely like a lot of misinformation, and it can be, you know, pretty costly. You know, like misinformation about like politics. Like if someone spreads fake news about Trump or fake news about Biden, like the consequences of like believing the fake news are so low. Like, you know, who cares? Like literally there's no profit or loss there. But people like being misled with fake information, or even just like bad ideas or just bad assessment. In crypto, there is profit and loss there, you know, like, so the stakes are a little bit higher in like filtering where you get your content from. And so usually like a lot of like paid writers from like non-crypto publications usually aren't good sources of information, because like those people don't really have much at stake. Like the only people you should listen to are people that have like thousands of hours of real experience where they're trying to assess the capabilities of these technologies in a setting where they have their own money at stake. People who are writing for Forbes, they like their assessment, they don't really have much at stake. But people who are actively buying and investing in Bitcoin and generating strategies and using it and sending it around and, figuring out like troubleshooting their own, issues like, okay, why isn't this transaction going through right away? Like, until you really like get in the, like people like that are like, who are actually like in the nitty gritty, they'll probably have better things, like just more accurate information. But somebody who's like, trying to write thought leadership pieces in like a major publication, they just really, they're not going to be the best source of information on this topic, especially because it's so new. Like the only people that know are the people that have practice, and you only get practice by doing it, and you only have time to do it, or you're only motivated to spend that time if you have enough money at stake. And so, a lot of writers just don't have much at stake. And so, they're good ideas, good thought, interesting, thought experiment, and certain things may play out, like if everyone tried to buy, maybe Coinbase would crash and then nobody could buy. Or maybe like all the Bitcoin that like might've been sold gets sold, and then the price goes to $1 trillion, and like, maybe, the US, in response to like, their dollar like failing, maybe they try to shut off the internet. Like, Bitcoin doesn't solve that. So maybe he's right. I don't know. But if, price goes up so high because everybody wants it so bad, I don't think that'll be the end of Bitcoin. I think that'll be just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. A lot of the funny stuff.
So I have another question. It's coming from someone who I was helping set up some wallets who's following you and following sort of your, long-term and saving strategy. And I know that Hex is so new that like a year ago, you wouldn't have been talking to us about it like we are talking about it now. But when I was setting this up for her and she was wanting to be in Bitcoin and in Hex, and she said, okay, if I'm spending my first money here, I mean, she didn't say an amount, but say it's $500. How do I choose where to put my money? And there are some things with Hex, maybe if you have shorter term goals, like a year state can be really cool. But in general, what's the advice you would give, or what's your feeling?
If you want to do two, I would just like, if it's like $500, like if it's only like $20, like splitting that into two, because like you'll have like fees and stuff at every step, like that doesn't really make sense. But if it's like a couple $100s, you might as well just get both. And it's actually really good practice on how to, like the act of buying Bitcoin and Hex, actually you will go through every step that, like, if you know how to do that, like you're literally set. Like you can actually conquer anything. Like literally, like knowing how to buy Bitcoin.
I can attest to, like, I mean, I'm not that deep in it, but I'm out, like, I took out lending like in Bitcoin. Like I lost money in Ruby. Like, yeah, because I initially just learned Hex in Bitcoin, but just like dove in.
Yeah, like literally, it's such a great first step. And it's you can start small. Like that's kind of the good thing about these, is like it's good to just start small, because then that's how you can start paying attention. But yeah, like I would definitely recommend just splitting it up, buying half of that in Bitcoin on Cash App, and then following the video that you made, Colleen, showing how to buy the Ethereum on Wire, maybe even split it into three, 1/3 into Bitcoin, 1/3 into Ethereum, and then 1/3 into Hex. And you have to go through Ethereum to Hex, but by doing that, you'll see for yourself that, like, okay, I have this Ethereum wallet, and it can also store Hex. Like maybe there's a relationship there. And then you can look at like Uniswap. And you're like, okay, I can just go to this site and I can just swap Hex for Ethereum, and you can see how that works. You can look at your transaction fee. Maybe you'll see the transaction fails, and you'll just Google like, Uniswap transaction fail, and then you'll see like the first article. Someone will say, "Oh, you just have to, cancel that one and then resend it with a higher fee," or whatever the answer is. And then you can kind of work through those baby steps, and it's like really low risk because like, unless you send it to the wrong address, or something like that, like you're not going to lose it. Like even like I think Colleen even mentioned one time that you're trying to do something and the transaction wasn't going through and you were worried that you lost it, but I remind you that you didn't lose it. It's just like
I was able, from everything that you had taught me already, I was able to, it hadn't gone through yet, but I could see that I could track it on the Ethereum blockchain. So I knew that it was gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And I agree. I feel like you've given us these like crypto vehicles, if you will, like with the Bitcoin and the Ethereum. I just wondered if you, and the Hex, and I wondered, I definitely buy both, and I feel it's intuitive how I choose where I'm going to spend my money. If I have an extra 100 or 200 or whatever, it feels more intuitive, not only even in price, but just what I need. So I just was curious. Yeah.
Great question. Yeah. So, hopefully, and she hasn't, like, I think those videos for her would be a great start. Maybe she's already watched them. But yeah, I mean, that's probably like buying Bitcoin, buying Ethereum, and using the Ethereum to buy some Hex. Like literally that's like crypto. It's like crypto middle school.
Totally. It does get trickier. I know when she's from in Europe and her, her bank wouldn't let her buy wire. And she couldn't get on Coinbase. So we're working on Kraken and all of that. So
yeah. And sometimes middle school is all you need. Like literally all my grandparents only went to middle school. So, and things worked out. Yeah. Look where we are. Yeah. Great question.
So here's one more question she asked me, and I didn't really know what to say. She said, "I'd really love to be able to bring in $1,000 a month from my cryptocurrency, from passive income. How can I do that?"
So $1,000 a month. So let's take a look at the Hex interest rate. I think Hex is the best.
I mean, that's what I assumed, either doing shorter stakes or like, or keeping it, not staking at all.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the Hex numbers. So I know that on like, at least right now with short-term stakes, like a month-long stake, you earn around like 1% per month. And so in order to get 1,000 a month, you'd probably have to start with like 100K. Because like short-term stakes, you're not benefiting from like how we talk about like the long-term stakes earn the largest proportion of the short-term stakes, or larger proportion of the inflation than the short-term stakes. So like you as like a 30-day staker, like the average length, let's go to hex.live and we can see what the average length staker is.
You want to share your screen again, Brian? I see just you.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so right now the average time lock is like 4.76 years. And so what that means is that like people that are 30-day stakes, they're like way below average. And so they get like a way below average proportion of the, of like the daily yield. And so, about 30 days is roughly like just based on the, like if we look at the, let's take a look, let's get an exact number here. So if we go to Hex.Vision and we go into here to look at block data, this actually tells us the interest rate. I looked at the right one. Is it block data or is it? should be block data. Let's see. Oh, interest rate right here. So let's look at percent locked. Okay, here we go. So if you can see my screen here.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, so this, so right now 14% of HEX is locked. And so what that means is that the interest rate paid to the average size length, average size staker is 25.76% per year. So if you have a, what did that site say? A 4.76 year stake, every day, so let's say every month, so 25.766 divided by 12. So every month, your stake is earning 2% per year, and that's not including some of these other bonuses. That's like at minimum you're earning this 2% per month, and so as like a 30-day staker, you're like way below average. So you're earning about 50 like just because I've seen some, like I have some short-term stakes and that's about what they earned. And that's like another strategy for Hex, is having a revolving door of 30-day stakes, or even doing things where like you start with a 60-day stake, and then 30 days later you start another 60-day stake.
We tried, yeah. When she and I talked about it, I proposed a 100-day stake. I don't know why. I just randomly chose that. I just like the percentages on it. It would almost something to build up to get yourself ready. I don't know.
Yeah. And so a way that you can actually look at that is if we go to go.hex.com, it actually shows how much is earned, like, per, let's go to hex.com. Okay, do I need to have MetaMask? Okay, no, here we go. So this is actually really interesting. This is the most underrated chart in Hex. This is daily payout per trillion shares. So the shares are how the stake lengths are measured. And it's what determines what percent of the daily staker payout that you get. So the more shares you have, the more that you get. So in total, there is 9.94 million trillion shares. This is a big number because I think something that has to do with like being able to last for like a very long time. I don't know. There's a reason why this is so big, but it's denominated in millions of what's trillion, like quinta or like peta shares, or I don't know, something like that. But there's 9.94 million. And so, each one of those shares, which you get for a stake, when you stake your coins, your Hex gets burnt, but then your wallet is linked to a certain number of shares. And the shares are what the smart contract looks at every day to determine how much to pay you. It looks at how many shares you have. And so right now, every share that you have is earning 3.9, so almost 4 Hex. So if we go to the stake page, is this not even going to let us do this? I'm not even on a browser let's see. Okay, I'm not on a browser I don't have MetaMask on this browser. What's a quick solution? What can we do here? Okay. So let's see what we can do.
If you just want to do, I can share my screen and we can, I can show you my MetaMask. Or sorry, if you just want to play with days.
Let's see. Wait a minute. I think I have a wallet that I can just show my, okay, actually I'm going to do this. I'm literally on live right now. So Easter egg, literally somebody could come and take this. I'm just gonna I have a seed wallet on like a dummy account. I'm just typing my seed phrase right here. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna do it on the live. I'm gonna hide my screen. That would be a funny giveaway for our call.
That's so funny.
I do want to show, because I want to show what you showed in your video. I actually really want to show that. So 1 second here. I've got just like a dummy throwaway wallet. So I'm about to, I'm gonna get my backup phrase, and we're about to, we're about to look at this. Okay. Let's see if this works. So here, so I'm gonna stop sharing here. Sorry, what 1 minute. So somebody, if they're really savvy, could probably look at this recording and
get your keystrokes.
Yep. Do them and.
Okay, Mission Impossible.
Listen, next one of these weeks we're going to talk about JSTEC, and that is all Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's like real spy shit. Okay, here we go. I just imported my wallet. That would have been a good thing to show, just how easy that is, and we could have used that as like instructional, how to recover your seed phrase. But then someone might have came in and swiped my $3 But I also have some hex here too. So here, I'm just gonna, let's see. Oh, so I did have another account. We're just gonna do it. Interesting. Okay, so here we go. This is actually good demo wallet for Hex. Glad I did this actually. So what we were just talking about was we were trying to look at the amount of shares that you get per stake. Because that's what tells. Because then when you we can look at the other page and look at how much is being earned per hex. So say you have 1 million hex. If you stake, so 1 million hex, right now the price is 2.028 cents. So 0.028 times 1 million. That's like $2,800. So for $2,800, if you were to do a 30-day stake, you would be earning, you would get 94 T shares. And so if we go back to here and look at this chart, the daily payout per T share over that 30 days, it's always increasing. That's because like every day, because it's constant 3.69 annual inflation. That's where this comes from. So that number is always increasing. So say over the next 30 days, your hex is, so the average comes out to like, let's see, over the last 30 days from 283 to 253. That was, from about 3.6 to 3.9. So it comes out to about like 30 or 0.3 per, so right in the middle. So say like 4.1, the payout per T share is 4.1 on average over that period of time. So you're going to be getting, so you have, what do we say, 94 T shares. So let's call them shares. 94 shares times, what do we say, 4.1. So this is how much hex you earn per day times the 30-day period. So on your million, oh, you probably can't see my calculator here. So on your million share, or on your million hex staked for 30 days, you earned 11,562 hex. So divided by 1 million, you earned 1.15% interest on your initial bag of hex. So what does that come out to? So at the current price of 11,562 times 0.0029. So you're like, what did we say it was? Like $2,800 earned you $33. And so in order for that number to be something like, you want to earn $1,000 a month, then what that means is that you would need to have, let's see how many shares that would require. Like, so if you're earning 0.011% on that, if you want to be, so you want to earn 1,000 per, per month, you would need about $86,000 to start. If you wanted to have a revolving door of 30-day hex stakes, if I did my math right, and that sounds right, you would need to start with that much. And so like, there's really no free lunch. Like crypto seems like it's kind of like this like get rich quick thing, and it like seems like you can just like print money off of it. But what it really means is that if you can hold your coins for a long period of time and delay the gratification and bear the opportunity cost of holding it through like long periods of time, that's when like the big payouts happen. Because Colleen, I think that in your video, your explanation of where you did the 5 days, 55, 555, 5555, like that was like the perfect explanation of just like how, the longer that you can stake in hex, the more that you earn. And you can like see it play out in real life with the, with like the short-term stakes, they pay something, but it's pretty small. And so, you kind of have to start like, with, a larger amount in mind, or start with a larger amount, at the beginning. And, being able to like collect on like a short term, like if you wanted to like spend that money that you're earning, so like say you have like long-term stakes. So right now, say you did a max length stake, say million hex, you now have 278 stake shares. And so over the next 30 days, if you have 278 hex shares, like those ones are earning over that same 30-day period, those stakes are earning 3 times as much interest per day, but you can't sell those yet. Those become available to you at the end of your stake. And so doing like something where you can cash out quickly, like hex really isn't that, because like, you earn them, like the people that are going to really be accumulating a lot of the hex, they're the ones that are staking for the like long-term periods, because, they're out like per day, they are earning 3 times as much interest as people that are staking for 30 days. And so those people are just going to be getting more of the hex, and the trade-off they're making is that they can't sell that immediately. If you have a revolving door of 30-day stakes, you're not going to be able to earn as much as the people that have like one long stake, but you at least get the benefit of being able to like maybe sell. Cause maybe what happens is say you maybe you don't need to start with 86,000, but maybe like during the course of time of when your stake was happening, the amount that you earn, like say you only started with 40K, and then over that, period of time, you earn $500 of interest. But say during that same period of time, the value of hex doubles. And now what was $500 of hex now goes up. And then maybe that's how you can get to that $100 or that $1,000 per month. But like the value is not going to double every month. It only will double maybe a handful of months ever. And you want to have hex on those days. Like that's when we, get those like big steps upward. So like, there's no like, you have to kind of start with money to be able to earn that much. Like there's really nothing that's just going to like print you that without having like already be taking the risk of like owning the asset to start. Probably like the best way to earn like $1,000, a month, is to, learn a skill and then find a company that's going to pay you to do that. Like definitely the best way to earn crypto is to just make money outside of crypto and then buy crypto with it. Because everything that's going to generate you any type of income from your crypto is going to involve some amount of risk. So in Hex, the risk is, and others, like a big risk is you have to already start with a lot of crypto. So you'll have like, that much more to lose. But, other risks are like, where other contracts where you might be like lending your coins, you have to like bear the risk of like operating in that like lending ecosystem. And so, there's just different types of risk, because, it's, that money's got, the value has to come from somewhere, and just like no one's giving it out for free. And so there's usually some trade-off. So being able to earn that much per month, like replace your income, like from like passive income, you first need to build up your like crypto base in order to like, just like, it's all just, numbers, literally, like, you have to scale, like in order to get, like scale up like an order of magnitude and how much your crypto can yield from you. You have to build up your base so that like, 1% of $1,000 isn't that much, $10. 1% of $1 million is what, 10,000. And so, that's just kind of how it operates. Another way you could, I guess, you could try to trade, but you're more likely to, if you're trying to make an income from trading, you probably have to be comfortable with spending the first 2 years losing money, because it takes time to learn, like to be able to like produce like that much money consistently. That's like, you have to be implementing really advanced strategies and have really good risk management, and, just have a really good system down. That takes time to build up. And even there too, you need more money to be able to invest with, because like, if you don't have much to start, you could use leverage. Like you could find an exchange that'll offer you like 100-to-1 line of credit. But if you go 100x long, on a trade, if price goes down 1%, you lose all your money. So like, there's no like magic bullet to just, being able to just like print income for yourself. You have to bear some type of risk.
Really, Brian? Because I was hoping for that one, the printing my income.
But,
Right? Do you think?
like
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna kind of close out with like, that's why it's so important to build up your crypto collateral base, is because that's like kind of what allows you to grow the like passive income that you can earn, like, and being able to like stretch out your time horizons where like you can hold a 10-year stake, you can hold a 2-year stake, because then at the end of that 2 years, that'll get you more money than you would have earned by having done a bunch of 30-day stakes for 2 years. So just getting to that position is how you can really like start to increase your passive income you can earn.
I appreciate your voice out there, because I think, just even me being in the new, I just didn't know. And I think people don't know. I think there's a lot of misinformation or just ideas about what crypto may or may not be. So yeah, thanks for explanation of that.
I got a question on the other end. So Nexo, so how you get basic attention tokens just through using Brave. So I like rarely even look at the ads, and I still at the end of the month end up getting some. Like I have a couple dollars accrued just from the few months that I've used Brave. So my thoughts are moving it to Nexo, where you can earn interest on it. Like, does that make any, like, is that a wise decision? Because then I could from there either use that to pay off my collateral or pay off my loan that I've taken out, or I can just buy more Bitcoin with it in the future. Or should I just right now it's just sitting in my still in Brave, but at some point it'll be more. I could put it in a regular wallet, but do you see the value in like Nexo just gaining interest for either Bitcoin or I guess just using it as like a more of a high yield savings account. Obviously, you run into the risk with Bitcoin. We talk about not wanting to keep it on exchanges and other things because of counterparty risk and stuff. But yeah, what are your thoughts with using Nexo in their interest feature while you have coins in there?
Yeah, so great question. Yeah, definitely try to earn some yield with those the Brave coins. Like so, Nexo is definitely like an option, and that's what like times where I've used Nexo for a line of credit. Like usually I just had like I had more than what like my credit limit was, so I like the amount that wasn't being actively used as collateral was also earning interest while it was there. So it was actually like reducing my interest payment. So like there's probably some like just based on the amount of interest that you earn from just having coins in there, relative to the amount that you've borrowed, and how much you've paid back. There's some proportion where the amount of interest that you'll be earning from your coins is going to be pretty close or potentially even greater than the amount that you're paying on your loan. So,
That's amazing.
Just, yeah. So like if you're adding, like, so especially with, like with Brave, like, let's take a look. Like, so I guess there are two questions there. One is like, is Brave a good thing to hold as collateral? Because like, if I'm correct, they'll be paying you interest in Brave. And so one, like, is that but I could be wrong. I don't know if Nexus pays in Brave or if it pays in like USDC or something else. So that'd be like the first, like, do you know what it pays you in?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that they have an option in there that you can hold it, but I don't know what that looks like beyond that.
Got it. Yeah. So I guess like if the first, I think you said like, should you trade because you could also hold Bitcoin or Ethereum in there and be earning interest. And also like, I know that Brave is used in other like Brave. What's the token symbol of Brave?
BAT.
That's it. Basic attention token yield farming. So let's take a look at okay, so yeah, compounds. Let's see. This might be a good example to look at. And then let's take a look at Nexo.
Or maybe it's not. I'm on the mobile right now, and I actually don't see it. I thought I saw it on here. Maybe it's on the desktop, but it's possible they don't even have it. But the question still remains the same with Ethereum and Bitcoin, essentially.
Yeah. So like I was trying to see if we could see how much. Okay, earn on crypto.
It's such a cool feature that you can earn. So if you have some in there that you don't have in your credit wallet, if it's in your savings wallet, like the stuff that's earning interest on that can then it's almost like a hedge against your interest payment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is.
That's such a cool feature.
Yeah. So do you see the symbol here for BAT?
I don't. I think I was mistaken. I thought it looks like maybe the Tron symbol is similar to the BAT symbol. So I think I just got them mixed up.
Okay, yeah, but maybe it is. Like there could be other ones that just like they're actually available in the account. But like, I mean, and also like let's see, Compound's yield farmers briefly turned BAT into DeFi. I remember a couple of months ago I saw that people were making a lot of like a massive yield from buying or from yield farming with BAT, meaning they were lending it out. So, let's see, BAT borrowing. Okay, so it looks like the BAT borrowing is pretty low. So you earn a lot of interest when there's a lot of demand to borrow it, and that usually means people are borrowing it to short the coin. But it also meant like people borrow these coins for yield farming too. So there may be another source of demand for borrowing. Usually it's to short the coin. Usually they're borrowing it from you because they're going to sell. Um, and so that's always the trade-off with, because like if something has like a high interest rate, that can sometimes mean that's like holding back the price. So you holding that and earning on it, you may be earning 8%, but like maybe like everyone's just selling the price down. And then at the end, like, yeah, you earned 8% on your BAT, but now BAT is worth 10% less relative to Bitcoin. And so like, maybe you didn't really earn, as much as it looks like. So if you're earning the yield in the coin, then you first need to like be certain that you want to hold that coin as like an investment. So let's like take a look at the chart. Let's look at basic attention. Let's see if we can have let's see how long this screen goes back, or this chart. Okay. Wow, the dip catcher algorithm would have, maybe we should use this for trading BAT.
Is this you've got the dip catcher algorithm on the background for the overlay?
Yeah. This got all, there's some erroneous data here that kind of messed with the, so let's turn the dip catcher thing off, and let's just look at a line chart, because it has this like erroneous piece of data here that totally messes with so let's just look at like the all-time chart. So this shows the chart back until 2019. So that's some price history. So like, I guess, outside of, like this, like kind of from where it first started, I don't know what price did before then. But I know basic attention token here. Let's see if we can find an all-time chart. So where do you think it first started trading? There's a Binance one, maybe. Okay, BAT, BTC.
Yeah, it would definitely be. I bet it's Binance because they have some relationship with them.
BAT. Okay, is it not on Binance? Am I blind or? Okay, duh, right there. Yeah, so here we go. So this chart goes, let's look at the weekly chart going back all the way here. So like from the start, like, if you bought in at the very, very low, you're up 100%, it's pretty much gone side, but like that's only if you bought on that day. Like very few people bought here. So prices stayed within this like trading range. And I think that, okay, so I even have this old analysis up here. Someone had asked me about that months ago. And so I had drawn these lines here where I said blue lines are the lines that are pushing price up, and red lines are the lines that are pushing price down. So like, and I was just drawing from these peaks in price. And so since I said that, price had bounced off of these red lines twice. I think I even mentioned that sometime in March. It was right when we started these. So when was that? March? March or April?
Yeah, March.
So starting from like here, I drew on these lines, and I was like, price is probably gonna, it's gonna have a hard time fighting past these red lines. This first one here. And so far price has bounced off that twice. And so price is probably gonna like end up back in these areas, because like, it's kind of knocking at the door, but like each time it gets there are a lot of sellers ready to sell. And that's because throughout all this time, like there's literally years of buyers and sellers. There's years of buyers that bought at a higher price than these bands. So anytime that price starts to like kind of creep into that area, there's people that bought up here or like bought up here. They're like waiting to sell to cut a loss, and they're pushing the price down. And so like, this first time, price kind of crept up there. It was batted down.
Well,
the second time.
And then on top of that, you've got people are people use it to tip one another. they pay one another like, so it's, yeah, I can definitely see there's like more network effects than you'd want something to really like hold, like to buy and hold.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's something you give away. Like, Bat, like Brave browser, they're giving it to you. Like if something is just given to you, without you having to put forth some cost, like in Hex, in order to get Hex for free, you have to buy a bunch of Hex and then agree not to sell it for a set period of time. So like you have to do something, then you can earn it. In Bitcoin, you have to buy the miner and mine, and then you get the Bitcoin. Like in basic attention, you have to watch an ad, but the opportunity cost and like financial risk of watching an ad is negligible. So like, it doesn't have any type of like sunk cost built in, or, you don't have to like, you're getting it for free. And so people sell the things that they get the easiest, they like, and so like you said, it doesn't have that buy and hold characteristic to it. It's mainly used as a currency, and currencies are meant for spending, and spending pushes price down. So if you're earning it, it does pump. Like, you look at the chart, like price will pump for sure. These pumps against Bitcoin happened more during like 2018. And a lot of that is because Bitcoin is just going down. And so people were like looking for like searching for other opportunities, and so there was a lot more trading activity going on back then. So that's why these pumps were higher. And so, price ranged, price was in this, like, say 200% range for like all the course of 2018. But in April of 2019, that's when Bitcoin went crazy. Like that's when it had that like generational bottom. And then like the price of Bitcoin was going up. And you can see that in the charts over here, where like the demand for Bitcoin was going up so much faster than the demand for basic attention token that the price very quickly, in a matter of weeks, straight down from where price went down from the peak to this low 82%. And it's not necessarily that like basic attention token became 83% less like valuable. I mean, it did measured in Bitcoin, but maybe not measured in dollars. It's just because Bitcoin like went up like 100% during this period. And so like, when Bitcoin's moving, like, and then since then, like, Bitcoin has been, Bitcoin's had a lot of great price actions. So like people aren't looking for basic attention token. So like pumping price, like holding Bitcoin is just as good or better. So you're not seeing as much of that, but these prices, these pumps are a little bit smaller. So maybe when you're earning the basic attention token, maybe you should be looking to sell it. So I know it's an ERC20, so you can take it over to Uniswap. Let's see if it's on. If we go to hex.vision. So, not hex.vision. Uniswap.hex.vision. That's what we're looking for. We're actually going to go to hex.cash because that's one of our sites. It has the chart on there. So we're going to look at the basic attention token USDC chart. So it's been been pretty flat for a long time, just not moving. It's very sideways, like a stable coin in a lot of ways. But periodically it'll pump, and it pumped, like, I think this is what that article was talking about. Like BAT was the thing that was earning a lot of yield, so a lot of people were buying it, and then the yield stopped, so people sold it away. Like this article, compounds yield farmers were, they're buying up all of the, because they were going to get a high interest rate. Then when they stopped getting the interest rate, they sold it. So like, price, can pump. Let's see. Let's take a look at, so like, you know, maybe just, I don't know if it's only a couple dollars, like wait till it kind of builds up to do it, to sell it. Or, if there are things you can pay for it directly in there, sell it that way. If there's like subscriptions you can buy with it or whatever, sell it that way. Or if like,
I think you can get gift cards with it now on one of the like DApp networks, and maybe there's a way that you could actually like earn more through selling it. I don't know. Like I don't know what you get with them, but I know there's like the gift cards are a new thing, and you can use them for a lot of different stuff. So
yeah. So maybe that's the solution, like, cause, you know, I mean, you got them for free, so it doesn't really matter. You don't really need to track the performance of them. But like, you know, I don't know how much it's going to pump in price, you know, to be realistic. I mean, like it very well could, kind of like we've been seeing here. So if it's, one, I mean, like right now, like the transaction fees and the trading fees on Uniswap, if you were to sell through Uniswap, that's going to be pretty high. If it's only a couple of dollars that the Brave browser is earning you, then, no need to like, you probably won't even be able to trade on Uniswap. So maybe you might need to move it to Binance or something. But like they're still giving you the fee, and like, so figure out however you can sell it, but
I think it's probably so I'm looking at this Tap network, and it's probably you can use it to redeem gift cards, and you can buy anything. You can buy like Starbucks, Chipotle, Nike. So maybe that's its best use, is just buying a gift card and using it as like a practical just like purchasing tool, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That it should definitely like you like find a good way to spend it, and then maybe keep an eye on the chart and try to spend it on a day where the price is going up.
You want to talk about Flow for a second?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about Flow. Oh God, do we want to visit that? What do you any comment on Flow or any special about Flow?
I was just curious, I was just curious what you thought. It's probably more like it was last week. I think it's fallen actually since last week, but I'm just curious, how you're feeling about it, like what your commentary is on it right now.
Yeah, so I've pretty much forgotten about Flow. Like I like Flow was like, I think in the right place at the right time for just like it capitalized on a lot of the like, just like the hype and hysteria, where like for a couple days last month, the things that were pumping the most were like first day coins that had a single word ticker symbol, and things where the developers were claiming that they had locked up a bunch of the coins. And I think that's what Flow kind of like, I think Flow kind of came in on the hype. And it still has like the qualities to it that like make it kind of interesting. Maybe I'll like, as I think we'd sold some, we had some good exits there.
For sure. And I was just curious, like what's your prediction for it? Like, what do you see happening to it? Just sort of fading into the moonlight right now, or?
I mean, like, so there's, it very well could could pump again. Probably that would be centered around the like another wave of hysteria. Because like it doesn't appear that like Flow had like an exit scam. Like so like when you look at and there's like we could also look at the Telegram chat. Like let's see, I'm just gonna look at the Telegram chat quickly and see what just the sentiment is.
Yes, please do. That's actually a great idea.
People are, seem to still be into it. So maybe but probably a lot of people that have flow don't really have much more money to like keep putting into it. And so it's like going to take like a new wave of money. And the new waves usually come with, with like new hype. And, all the markets have just kind of been selling off. I think a lot of the hysteria has kind of cooled down. And so with flow, it doesn't have like a chart pattern of like an exit scam. It just has like a chart pattern of like, oh, price was like way inflated, like, for a couple days just from hype. Because like if it was an exit scam, the shape of these, let's see if I can get a good drawing. Like exit scams, they have this type of shape to them. Can you see that? Okay. Like exit scams have like that type of shape to them. This kind of has this kind of shape. So that's kind of just like a normal, like people selling to cut losses, not somebody like who has like a major holder, like dumping all their coins. So like, that's probably what this is. Like, what this is like all the people that had bought to push the price up have just sold, and now the price is kind of back where it was. And so right about now, price is where it was on the first day. And that's pretty common. Like, for a lot of coins where like they get kind of swept up in like hype, and they can't sustain like new people buying. And then all the people that had bought up here then are like selling to cut their loss because they're like moving on to other things, or they're selling to like cut their losses in other things. So, maybe this will pump, like if it appears that it's kind of bottomed out, which it kind of had. Like, I mean, if we really look at this like closely, let's see if how the chart looks zoomed in further. Like if we clear the chart, if we kind of look at this, how we always look at it, we just look at what the sellers are doing and how much energy they have. So here, like big wave of sellers, down, then like another wave of buyers, so like people kind of catching on to like the second wave of the hype. And then another wave of like continued sell pressure here. And then like another wave of buyers, who knows what they were buying for. But then like, because there were already kind of like these two, like, boom, bust cycles, as price was starting to like reach the top of this range, people who had bought in these highs or pretty much bought in these lows, pretty much, people who bought at the bottom are selling to take profit, but people who bought at the top are selling to cover the loss. And so like this pump right here was just like all the energy was just sucked out from all the sellers. So like a lot of people that had bought, just during this whole time, some at a loss, some at a profit, they're just selling. And so like any wave of energy that buyers had was just kind of lost. And then since then, like in these last couple of days, there's just hasn't been much energy at all, because the price of like Ethereum, for instance, is down. Like we look at Ethereum, like Ethereum is also, we look at Ethereum over the last couple of days. Okay, looking at weeks, Ethereum's been going up, but zoom in further on the same time frame. Like since the beginning of September, Ethereum's been selling off. And so when we look at here, like since the beginning of September, like if Ethereum is selling off, other things probably aren't going to be going up, because like people are, like things go up after, like when Ethereum goes up a lot for a long time, people have a lot of money to take profit into other things, and that pushes the price of other things up. And so right now it's like no one's really taking profit from Ethereum. So like people can't be swapping their Ethereum for flow, or they're just less likely to be doing that because of the, it like there's not like a lot of hype and hysteria and like a lot of like trading going on. People are like de-risking, they're taking money off the table. They're not putting new money on the table. So, if maybe flow will be able to, just kind of range down in this area for a little while longer, and it might return. But it's going to have a hard time, continuing to pump. Like, if things like, but that doesn't say that it won't, because like if we look at the early hex chart, for instance. So where can we find hex? So let's go to our hex.cash site. And we look at hex. Let's look at the hex dollar pairs because it's easier to reason about. So like in the early days of hex, price went up, a lot, then it dumped a lot, but then it went up again, and then it didn't dump too hard. Like if hex at this time would have dumped again, like say, let's see, we can look at this properly. Okay, so say back here, hex had dumped again, then it would have had a really hard time breaking past that, because then like when price was trying to move back up, it would have had to overcome all of these sellers, all the people that had bought in this time, either the people who had bought at a profit down here, like all the people that had bought at a profit here, or all the people that had bought at a loss here. If price was down here now, a lot of sell pressure, would be, holding price down. So hex might have had a hard time recovering from that. But because at this time, they're like price moved to the upside, it now like, now there's just like not as much pressure, because like, yeah, maybe the people that bought down here, maybe like sellers taking profit. That's probably what a lot of this was. Like this first wave of sellers, when you trace it back, these were people that had bought at the really low. And even this like more recent wave, but there's not enough like these people that bought down here who have the most hex, because they're the ones that bought at these low prices. They're not really feeling much pressure to sell, partially because they have a lot of long-term time locks, so they can't sell. And two, like they're not really feeling much pressure because they're not sitting on a big loss. People that bought up here, they're sitting on a loss, but people that bought down here, they're not sitting on a loss. Maybe these people, they're waiting for hex to reach, 30 cents before they sell. These people are waiting for another, 1,000% run. And then maybe that's when the people who bought, down here at the, these lows, maybe like, the people that bought hex down here, they're waiting for another 30% run to sell. And then maybe they're going to sell the price down. And maybe the people who bought down here and then sold up here are going to dump the price 90%. They could. And so like, and then, but the 90% dump from this level is still going to be 10 times what it is now, so like these boom and bust cycles are going to continue to happen. But for things that are like in a trend where like, there's still long periods of time where people who bought are in profit, those are you're less likely to see dumpage than from people who are anxious to sell because they're sitting on a loss, especially when other things are pumping. So, things like, basic attention token, like, there's really not that many people that they're sitting in profit. Bitcoin, almost everybody's in profit. What else? Flow, where's the flow one? Everybody's in a loss. So it has to first overcome that with like a lot of new buyers, and the new buyers need to like believe that this is going to go up a lot. So, things like this, like if you have flow left, maybe look for pumps to sell into, or maybe just hold it because, who knows, because flow, like, as far as I know, like I haven't looked, like that like halvening cycle is still going to come into effect. And so, it's still going to be, it might have some price action related to that. And also what you don't see in this chart is that your balance of flow increases every day by 1%. So like, if you had held for say day one, which was August 13th, so last time price is at the same level at August 13th. And it has been how many days since flow? So say, okay, about a month. So almost a month. So say 25 days. So if you had, 1,000 flow times, and it increases at 1% per day, 1% raised to 0.01 raised to the 30, so 25. Wait a second. 1.1. There we go. So right now you would actually be like, so if you had bought flow way back here, where price is at, like over this period of time, price is like right where it was when you bought it, but your flow balance is 25% higher. So you actually have a 25% gain, because in flow you have that yield that comes from just earning it. So like when you look at the price chart, it's applied over a larger number of coins. So like, and maybe that even makes flow like a good thing to hold on to, because if you're continuing to earn that and then it goes up a little bit, even if like say you bought here, say like you bought at $1. So right now, price is down from $1. Price is down 75%. But over this, say over this period of time, okay, that's been 11 days. So you've earned 11% interest, or 11 days of interest. So that comes out to 11 and a half compounded. So like, price went down 75%, but during that same time, your balance went up 11%. And so what that means is that from your perspective, price only went down 64%. So in order to break even from here, price only needs to go up for you. So like your real loss is 60%. But now in order for you to break even, price from here only needs to go up to, so if price goes up 65%, price only needs to go to 36% for you to break even, because you have the gains that you got from just like having the flow. So like getting the yield on it helps counteract the price going down. And that's part of what is pushing the price down, is just that like people are getting new coins and they're selling them. So like the price, a better thing to look at in flow rather than the price would be to look at the flow market cap. Let's see if we can see a market cap chart. It might not look as bearish. Yeah, there we go. So if we look at the 30, it's been around for about a month now. So here's where it started. Okay, this is where they first started getting data. So like, people in flow, like they're down, but like, the market cap is the thing to really look at here, because it's what, because it applies to all the coins, because, every day there's like the supply flow increases. So, and it gets this produced to everybody. It gets this distributed to everybody. So you can then, so like everyone's balance went up at the same rate. And so like the price is low, but like everyone's balance is up. So like people, the losses aren't as severe as the price looks. So like at least flow holders have that working for them. But I'm not really like looking to buy flow right now.
I was just curious. I like to hear what you have to say about it. And now that, we've sort of completed this, not completed, but it's just been an interesting odyssey to watch it.
Yeah. And it's definitely like a good, good example, and that's probably what we'll see play out is, over, and it's like we describe all the time with Simple Token, where like it had these like big pushes up when there was all this hype. And then like a lot of people being paid in Simple Token, and then they just kind of dump the price forever. that similar thing might happen here on maybe a smaller scale where, it had these two waves of hype. And then now just like all this, that's like kind of like on that BAT chart. Like if we draw red lines that represent things pushing price up, or red lines, things that are pushing price down. So that line, that's pushing price down. This is pushing price down. This is pushing price down. Now this is pushing price down. And this is, I guess that doesn't really count. And the things pushing price up, really this level. There's one force pushing price up, and there's 4 forces pushing price down. Like flow is probably going to have, like, it's going to be hard to overcome this first one. So maybe the flow, maybe flow price action looks, needs to bounce around in between here for a while, and maybe even go down below it and then find its way back up and then fight past this and then needs to break through this red line. And then it needs to turn that red line into a thing working in its favor, and then maybe now from there, once it turns this line from red to green, then it can like start like, working up, and then maybe it needs to like test that. And then now it needs to overcome this horizontal line, or, because that one should be red. Maybe it needs to overcome that. And then maybe once it, once it kind of fights in this range for a little bit, then it breaks through, and then it comes back and like proves that this is like now working in its favor. Then maybe that's what needs to turn that red line into green. And then maybe that's, then maybe once it has the same number of green lines working in its favor compared to the number of red lines, maybe that's when it can have a big move up and maybe burst straight through this one and then like range in here. Like maybe that's what needs to happen. But flow definitely has a lot of work to do, and it needs to like get a lot of new money coming in, because a lot of people that already have flow, maybe these don't have much money left. So yeah.
I have no more questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't have any either. I'm gonna have to jump off here before too long.
Okay. But before you got, were there any on the YouTube live?
So the only YouTube live was Solomon saying, "Hey guys, what's up?"
Hey, that's Solomon.
So, but so we didn't have any comments on the chat. There's a couple people watching.
Okay, cool. And nothing on the Zoom chat. And then so I think we covered a lot of topics. This is a good.
Thanks for being so open, Brian. It's so great to like have you be able to switch channels so easily.
Yeah, of course. This is a lot of fun. Yeah, and thanks for you put in some great questions. This was awesome content you got out.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. This was great. It's good to see you guys. And
Till
next
week.
Till next week.
Until next time.
Thanks.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.